Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 FM. I'm Paul Kretschmer. My guest on today and tomorrow's broadcast is Brian Doyle, the founder and head of Iron Sharpens Iron, a men's ministry celebrating this year its 20th anniversary. Here is Brian Doyle to start our conversation. Iron Sharpens Iron has been around for how many years now? I think I've seen enough of them come and go now. I've kind of lost track of how far back it actually goes. If you could refresh my memory and the listeners' memory too.
Well, this is our 20th year, so it was 20 years ago in 2001 that we decided to try a simple one-day men's conference, and we tried it right here in Central Connecticut.
And where's the location for this year going to be? Is it still at First Cathedral in Bloomfield or somewhere else?
No, it will be, I believe this is our 20th year, but our 17th year at the First Cathedral right there in Bloomfield. So we're looking forward to it. We have a great partnership, and it's a great venue, and it's a very unique venue that I believe that God has provided for the body of Christ in Central Connecticut.
For many of the men who've been to ISI before, of course, that's a readily recognizable location, and they know, as the saying goes, how to get there in their sleep without stopping and asking for directions, since we all know men have such a hard time asking for directions on things sometimes. There's
some truth to that, yeah?
Yeah. As time goes on, have you noticed the mix between men who have been there one or more times before and those who are coming for the first or maybe the second or third time?
Yes, and it's a good question. And it's not just specific to Hartford. I would say wherever we're doing these men's conferences, there's always new men. Men who might have been hesitant, didn't quite know what it was all about. Because most of the men who come to something like Iron Sharpens Iron, when I say most, I'm talking about well over 90%, come as part of a group from their church, which means this is a relational invite. This isn't an invite on social media and e-blasts and you buy a ticket for it. No, guys come with other men that they're building relationships with or that they already have a friendship with, and that's part of why we do the conference that way. That's part of the dynamic, is iron sharpening iron.
So in terms of the attendance then, have you got a current record for, let's say, the Hartford area event specifically for a group coming X number of times in a row, or perhaps what the most recent record was for number of men in a group? I know when I've been in the hall in the past, you have recognized a group that's been up on the stage and the next number of people. Fill us in on what that's been like lately.
Well, it's a good question, and it's we have occasionally churches that will bring in the high 70, 80, 90s, a couple times over 100, but that's not the norm. I mean, That would be 3 or 4 or 5 churches. Did you know the last few years we've had over 180 churches that have brought some type of group. When I say group, that means a half dozen or more men to the Hartford Iron Sharpens Iron churches, to the Iron Sharpens Iron conference. That means 180 different churches are taking advantage of this resource in one way or another, which is really why we created it, so that it could be a resource for the local church.
In some ways, that answer of yours does not surprise me all that much, because while there are some churches that are very large in population, and so the potential men's group participation would also be a large one, the average church in New England, let's say, if not Connecticut specifically, are not the huge churches that we sometimes hear about, but many small congregations with small memberships, a congregation size, and the men are proportionately smaller as a grouping that would come to something like that. Am I correct on that?
You're absolutely correct. And certainly large churches can come, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But the churches that do come every year consistently and bring a group of men are those relatively small New England churches where a resource like a one-day Iron Sharpens Iron conference is very unique, very valuable, and really complements what they're doing on their own local front.
Would you say that there is a decent amount of space left for the Hartford event? I understand that one of the locations north of here, north of Connecticut, has sold out already. Is that true?
Yeah, the Vermont Conference was full. The First Cathedral holds 3,300 men, so we'd love to see it full. It very well could happen because this is our 20th year. We have a little bit more buzz going on. But that's typically takes a lot of effort to fill that venue. And so I think as long as the churches are continuing to do their job and work the grassroots and get their men connected, most everyone should be able to get there.
How do you keep from being complacent as a director when you have been leading this now for 20 years and you've used the First Cathedral venue so many times? How do you, as a leader, and the associates who work most closely with you on this, maintain the fresh approach that is receptive to whatever God is telling you in a given year, and then you can turn around and go out and tackle it with the same kind of enthusiasm that you always have?
Well, I would say for me, speaking for myself, that it's just a clarity of vision that I believe that when you build men, everybody wins. When you build strong husbands, obviously marriages win. When you build strong fathers, obviously children win. When you build strong grandfathers, obviously grandchildren win. When you build men to represent Jesus as men of integrity who have a clear witness, and the marketplace wins. When you build men to have a servant spirit who steward their resources well while the local church wins. Everybody wins when you build godly men. So we're just trying to tap into God's design. What's God's plan for men, and how do we complement what the local church is doing? So the one-day conference is a nice complement. It provides a critical mass of men, and most guys in central Connecticut don't get that opportunity very much. It provides this, what we call this masculine context, where you get to tackle some things that are specific to men in a place that's safe, where you can talk to men with strong biblical exhortation, where you can challenge them, where you really can't challenge them in a mixed group on Sunday morning, but you certainly can in this type of group on Saturday morning. So just seeing how it complements the work of the local church continues to fuel my fire to provide this to the central Connecticut body of Christ.
That reminds me that one of the ways that you do what you do is to provide tracks for the different age groups, all the way from the youngest men who are invited to attend all the way up to the senior level, where you have grandfathers, for instance, and maybe uncles who are attending the same conference perhaps as the young people in their family, or if they're separated by distance, the older men are going to a conference in one place, and the younger men perhaps are going to a different conference in a different place.
Yep.
But they will see the commonalities and have something to share when they talk to or see each other.
Yeah, so my 20-year-old son, Matt, he'll be coming to the Hartford conference with me, and he doesn't want to go to the seminars on being a godly father and husband and that kind of stuff. He wants to go to something that has to do with being a 20-year-old man.
Yeah.
And so there'll be seminars for that. We'll have 20 different seminars at this conference, and they'll have things for Matt, age 20. It'll have things for guys who are much older than you or I. It'll have something for everyone in between, for guys who are married, guys who aren't married, guys who have kids, guys who don't have kids, guys who are mature leaders in the church, guys who are relatively new in their faith, guys who are having a hard time with one area and maybe easy time with another. So there will be plenty of choices for guys. And that's why, as a pastor and leader in a local church, all the guys can come.
Brian Doyle is the founder and head of Iron Sharpens Iron, celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. Its conference in the Hartford area is in the month of March. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from WIHS, Middletown.